Nail.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this is part 2 of story time with our dog, and we're going to be reading scary stories today.
And he's like extra tired.
We read stories to our dogs from a scary storybook for 5-year-olds. Don't judge. Anyways.
Yeah, because he likes it.
He likes it.
It helps him relax.
Okay, this one is called
He's
Sounds. Ooh, there's the picture. Okay. The house near the beach. The house was near the beach. It was a big old place where nobody had lived for years. From time to time, somebody would force open a window or a door and spend the night there, but never longer. 3 fishermen caught in a storm took shelter there one night. With some dry wood they found inside, they made a fire in the fireplace. They lay down on the floor and tried to get some sleep, but none of them slept that night. First they had footsteps upstairs. It sounded like there were several people moving back and forth, back and forth. When one of the fishermen called, "Who's up there?" the footsteps stopped. Then they heard a woman scream. The scream turned into a groan and died away. Blood began to drip from the ceiling into the room where the fishermen huddled. A small red pool formed on the floor and soaked into the wood. A door upstairs crashed shut, and again the woman screamed, "Not me!" she cried. It sounded as if she were running, her high heels tapping wildly down the hall. "I'll get you," a man shouted, and the floor shook as he chased her.
We're reading to Coco. Huh? We're reading to Kobuk.
Then silence. There wasn't a sound until the man who had shouted began to laugh.
Just Daddy Kobuk.
Peals, is that the word? Yeah. Long peals of horrible laughter filled the house, and went on until the fishermen thought they would go mad. When it finally stopped, the fishermen heard someone coming down the stairs dragging something heavy that bumped on each step. They heard him drag it through the front hall, out the front door. The door opened and it slammed shut. Again, silence. Suddenly a flash of lightning filled the house with a green blaze of light. A ghastly face stared at the fishermen from the hallway. Then a crash of thunder. Then came a crash of thunder. Terrified, they ran out into the storm. What'd you think of that one, Coco? Oh, you like it? Okay. We have no life. I'm sorry, but... Ooh, hey, this is one of my favorite ones, okay? It's called Rings on Her Fingers.
Hey, he's listening. He's got his ears perked up.
He does. Rings on Her Fingers. Daisy Clark had been in a coma for more than a month. When the doctor said that she had finally died, she was buried on a cool summer day in a small cemetery about a mile from her home. "May she always rest in such peace," her husband said, but she didn't. Later that night, a grave robber with a shovel and a lantern began to dig her up. Since the ground was still soft, he quickly reached the coffin and got it open. His hunch was right. Daisy had been buried wearing 2 valuable rings, a wedding ring with a diamond in it, and a ring with a ruby that glowed as if it were alive. The thief got down to his knees and reached into the coffin to get the rings, but they were stuck fast on her fingers. So he decided the only way to get them off was to cut her fingers off with a knife. That's a solution. But when he cut into the finger with the wedding ring, it began to bleed, and Daisy Clark began to stir. Suddenly she sat up. Terrified, the thief scrambled to his feet. He accidentally kicked over the lantern, and the light went out. He could hear Daisy climb out of her grave. As she moved past him in the dark, he stood there frozen with fear, clutching the knife in his hand. When Daisy saw him, she pulled her shroud around her and asked, "Who are you?" When the grave robber heard this corpse speak, he ran. Daisy shrugged her shoulders and walked on and never once looked back. But in his fear and confusion, the thief fled in the wrong direction. He pitched headlong into the grave, fell on a knife, and stabbed himself. While Daisy walked home, the thief bled to death. That's what the thief gets, trying to cut off a poor dead woman's fingers. That's not even nice.
She wasn't even dead, though.
I know, but a poor...
Slightly dead.
Comatose woman. That's really gross, okay? Never do that, Kobuk. Never.
Guess what I just watched?
What?
Did Dad go back in the house?
Uh-huh.
John Green, Hitler and sex. Have you seen that video?
Mm-mm.
It's talking about Hitler and his life.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of disturbing, actually.
Let's see.
Why would he only have one?
I don't know.
That I'll tell you later.
Let me find it. Find father.
Hello, father.
Let's see.
Coco, are you concussed?
Okay, this one is called The Thing. How long was the video?
4 minutes, 22 seconds.
Look, Kobuk.
What the?
Guess he's not gonna look at the picture. Anyway.
He's watching Dad.
You gonna listen?
Okay.
Ted Martin and Sam Miller were good friends. They spent a lot of time together. On this particular night, they were sitting on a fence post near the post office talking about one thing and another. There was a field of turnips across the road. Suddenly, they saw something crawl out of the field and stand up. It looked like a man, but in the dark, it was hard to tell for sure. Then it was gone. But soon it appeared again. It walked halfway across the road. Then it turned around and went back into the field. Then he came out a third time and started toward them. But now Ted and Sam were scared, and they started running. But when they finally stopped, they decided they were being foolish. They weren't sure what had scared them, so they decided to go back and get a better look. Pretty soon they saw it, for it was coming to meet them. It was wearing black pants, a white shirt, and black suspenders. Sam said, "I'm going to try to touch it, then we'll know if it's real." He walked up to it, peered into its face. It had bright, penetrating eyes sunk deep in its head. It looked like a skeleton. Ted took one look and screamed, and again he and Sam ran. But this time the skeleton followed them. When they got to Ted's house, they stood in the doorway and watched it. It stayed out on the road for a while, then it disappeared. A year later, Ted got sick and died. Toward the end, Sam sat up with him every night. The night Ted died, Sam said he looked just like the skeleton. Oh, now that is good friendship right there, okay? That's awesome friendship. Yeah.
It's like me saying Ruby would look like that one thing when she dies. I'm so mean.
Okay, Koba. Oh, the big toe.
Oh
this
my
one
god.
is called the big toe. Is he sleeping?
Oh, he was
No.
a second ago.
A boy was digging at the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something. So he gave it a good hard jerk, and then it came off in his hand. Then he heard something groan and scamper away. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "Looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll
Ew.
put it in the soup and we'll have it for dinner." Like, why? That's gross. That night, his father carved the toe into 3 pieces, and they each had a piece. Ew.
It's
They did the
disgusting.
dishes, and when it got dark, they went to bed. The boy fell asleep almost at once, but in the middle of the night, a sound awakened him. It was something out in the street. It was a voice, and it was calling him, "Where's my toe?" He groaned. Did Holly look at me weird or something?
Yeah.
When the boy heard that, he got very scared. He thought,
I thought it was
"It
dull.
doesn't know where I am. It will never find me here."
I thought it was dull.
I'm getting there. Then he heard the voice once more, only now it was closer. "Where's my doll?" It groaned. The boy pulled the blanket
This
over
is
his
so
head and closed
entertaining.
his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought. "When I wake up, it'll be gone." Where? Oh, wait. I skipped the line.
Go back. What
But
was
soon he
that?
heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where's my doll?" It groaned.
Oh my
Where?
god.
Then the boy heard footsteps move through the kitchen and into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. Then slowly they climbed the stairs.
Oh my
Closer
god.
and closer they came. Soon they were in the upstairs hall. Now they were outside his door. "Where is my doll?" The voice groaned. The door opened. His door opened, shaking with fear. He listened as the footsteps slowly moved
Don't leave me,
through
come
the dark
back.
toward his bed. They stopped. "Where's my doll?" He groaned.
Dull.
How about, guess what? You have the toe! Okay. He has the toe! I hope you got that videotape because it was cute.
Ew, I did. It's still going.